And I'll stop eating then.
That's your choice.
It is dinner time.
Okay. All right. So I think we are running live on Facebook. So good evening, everyone. My name is Peter Relford. I'm the president of the Gungahlin Community Council, and this is our October 2020 public meeting. It's my pleasure to welcome all of you here in this election week. Don't forget, we have to all vote either on Saturday or before Saturday, the 17th of October in the ACT election in the seat of Yerraby. For all of us in Gungahlin. We have unfortunately had one of our speakers drop out this evening. The agenda was going to be as follows. I was going to give an update on activities we've been undertaking in the last couple of months. We were going to have Rachel Hutker, the new Gungahlin station commander, talk about the Gungahlin policing situation, where we're at with statistics and what's going on. Unfortunately, Rachel can't be with us, but her boss, Mick Kalatzis, will be joining us once I've been speaking. The ACT No Waste speaker has had to cancel for personal reasons and couldn't find someone to backfill, and so we'll be having them come along a little later on, and we'll also be doing a bit of a post with some of their content relating to waste collection and recycling services in Gungahlin. And then we'll have the team up from Dish Developments talking about their new residential development, Block 7, Section 249 in Gungahlin. So without further ado, I will step through just a few updates. Just to let you know, I've got a couple of things here relating to other groups that are active in Gungahlin. We had a meeting with Mitchell Traders, the Mitchell Traders Association, probably about 6 weeks ago now, talking about a consultancy to develop waste facilities in the northern areas, and they were interested in what's happening in the suburb of Kenny, and we were able to exchange some notes and coordinate some of their activities with some of our activities, and share some information about some developments which I've written up in an article we'll post tomorrow. Some residents will remember that we were calling for ideas and suggestions to go into the ACT government's Fast Tracks program, which is a COVID stimulus measure to do a whole bunch of maintenance and new builds of a very small scale around Canberra. We've provided that list to Minister Steele, who's the Territory Transport Canberra and City Services Minister, and they subsequently followed up with an analysis of that list, and we'll be publishing that in the next week or so. The Nichols Residents Group, Synergy, had asked us to republish some of the commitments they were seeking from candidates for the election, and we've done that. And I guess I flagged both the Mitchell Traders and the Synergy group engagements as examples where we're working to support local groups as well as doing some things on our own. Just again, my list, the ACT tennis facility being proposed by ACT Tennis appears to have secured bipartisan support, at least from the two major parties for the ACT election. So that looks really promising. That's for a site in between Amaroo and Moncrief. Well, certainly that's the preferred site, not guaranteed yet. So that looks really positive. Certainly Gungahlin is grossly underserved for a lot of sporting facilities, but particularly tennis. We've been trying to engage with a company called Englobo, who bought the very large block right on Hibberson Street opposite where the DHA building is going to be. And we're trying to get engaged with them to start a conversation about what we have heard from residents is important. And so as soon as we get some sort of dialogue running with them, we'll let you know. We've had a couple of long conversations with the Suburban Land Agency and with Environment Planning and Sustainable Development about land releases and the development of Kenny. And as I mentioned just a moment ago, we've got an article ready to go that we'll publish tomorrow that sort of describes all of that. In particular, Kenny is a lot smaller than is currently shown on the territory plan, and a lot of it's still yet to be defined, although the high school site is very clearly defined, and you'll see that on the maps in that article. Also, right adjacent to the new high school in Kenny is a proposed park and ride facility at Wells Station. That's Wells Station, the road, and Wells Station, the light rail stop. We're trying to get some information about that and how the consultation for that is going. We have a long list of questions we've submitted to to city services, and we're waiting for some responses. Just up the road from the Wells Station stop is the Franklin grasslands, and the consultation for that closed late last month on a draft plan for how that will be landscaped and managed. And we had a number of follow-up conversations with the Friends of Grasslands group. I know a lot of people have been very excited about the Celebrate Gungahlin event coming back, and the committee, which includes the GCC and a number of other major stakeholders, community stakeholders in Gungahlin, has been moving forward with it. We've got, as we've mentioned before, funding from the ACT events group to support the event. But with all the uncertainty around large groups, our current thinking is that we'll move away from a single event over a few hours to a series of smaller events in March, and some more details of that will come out shortly. We've one of the residents popped up and said, look, we're really interested in trying to establish some mountain biking facilities in Gungahlin, and a Facebook group called the Gungahlin Mountain Bike Network has been created, and we've been working with that resident and some folk inside ACT government to understand what might be possible. If you're interested in that, please contact me at the GCC, or join the Gungahlin Mountain Bike Network Facebook group, and I'll wait for further action. And just on a couple of other things, we had one resident pop up and ask what was the ACT government's position on the use of weed killers, particularly glyphosate, what a lot of us know as Roundup. And we were able to find someone inside ACT government who then provided a frequently asked questions document, which we've provided on Facebook. So anyone who's got any concerns about that should have a look at that. And then most recently, some of you may have noticed some announcements from the government, the federal government, around making some very substantial investments in upgrading the NBN, particularly those portions that were deployed with fibre to the node rather than fibre to the premise. Now, from a Gungahlin point of view, in general, most of the Gungahlin has fibre to the premise, which is terrific, and a major differentiator for any other, compared to any other district in Canberra. However, there was one section of Casey Stage 1, which was missed out and has fibre to the node. And so I've already spoken with the ACT representative from the NBN, for the NBN, about that. He's certainly well aware of it, and we will be formally writing to NBN indicating our strong desire that that portion of Gungahlin get cleaned up and upgraded to be consistent with the rest of Gungahlin. Exactly how that process will work is a little bit undetermined, but we do have a dialogue running. So that are the major activities we've been involved in the last few weeks. And of course, I've left out the other major focus for everything in Canberra at the moment, which is the ACT election. We published a summary of residents' views. We organised the forum last month. If you've not seen that forum, I'd encourage you to pick up the recording off our Facebook site if you're still not decided. But I do encourage you all to have a look at the GCC's articles around what we think is important in Gungahlin and what we're asking candidates to address. And I just remind everybody that voting counts and voting matters, and spend a bit of time looking at what the candidates have to offer. So with that, unless there's anyone who has a particular question which they can flag by raising their hand or by putting a chat in the chat window, I might push on. Also ask my colleagues in the GCC executive if they could keep an eye on the Facebook feed, and if there are any questions that come through from that, if they could pass them along, I'd appreciate that.
Peter, did you see in the chat the development application for the Mitchell Light Rail Stop has been publicly notified?
Oh, well, no, that is big news. So thank you, David, for well spotted. Yeah. Thank you. So yes, I assume everyone caught that, but yes, there were the current government had committed to building a light rail stop at Mitchell, and as David's just indicated, the DA for that's just been listed, and I would encourage, well, I'll find a pointer to it, points it on Facebook, but if you're interested in all things light rail, then I'd strongly encourage you to have a look at that. All right, without further ado, I can see that Mick is online and about ready to go. If he presses *6 and unmutes himself, he'll be fully online and engaged. So, Mick, are you there and ready to speak? Let's do unmute. Nope. Mick, if you're online and can hear me, it looks like you're muted. If you can press *6, that should unmute you, if my memory serves me correctly. Doesn't look good. So I can see that you've called in, but I can't see you able to speak. Okay, if you can't unmute, then we are a little bit stuck for the moment.
You can't unmute as host?
No, Mick's called in on the phone, so he's not on a he hasn't connected over using a PC. He was just going to speak on the phone, but
just while we're sorting that out, Cameron's got a question in chat. Is there any update or news on the result of the last establishment DA and representations?
The which DA?
The establishment.
Yeah. Well, sorry. Well, yes, we. Actually, I guess that's been a while now. So the short answer is the amended development application for what was Air Towers, now the establishment. That development application was rejected. So essentially, the only development application that's been approved for that site is the one originally submitted back in 2018, which has a number of fundamental flaws that apparently make the development hard to go forward with. We've not heard from the proponents, Geocon or Empire Global, or the other party that was strongly opposed to the development, namely the YMCA Childcare Centre. So we really don't know what's going to happen with that site and what the development plans are. But the short story is the DA as proposed has been refused. And I think that's a good thing in that it's consistent with what we've heard in feedback from residents. Right, well, we're still, I think, stuck. I have pressed *6. Okay. Just give me 10 seconds. Let's see if we can stop sharing for the moment. Unmute phone. Sorry, I'm just jumping forward to this. Phone only, follow by hash. *6, toggle mute, unmute. Okay, well, doesn't seem to be working. On speaker. Can you hear? Try speaker. No. Try your mobile on speaker. Yes. So the problem, Mick, because you can hear us, is that you've joined the call, but Zoom has muted you. In theory, by pressing *6 on your phone, it should unmute you, but clearly that's not working. Maybe if you hung up and call back in. Oh, there we go. You're on.
Can you hear me now?
Yoo-hoo! Yeah, you're there.
Cool.
All right.
We put a man
Terrific. Sorry for the delay. All right.
well.
Well, Mick, I'll let you introduce yourself. Look, the headline for this was Gungahlin policing. So it's a bit of an open topic, but usually one of great interest to residents.
All right, Gungahlin Community Council. First of all, it's a pleasure to be here. My name's Superintendent Mick Kalatsis. I'm the North District Commander, which also takes in Gungahlin, and I'm also in charge of City and Belconnen. Apologies on behalf of Inspector Rachel Hudka. Rachel got promoted in January. She's doing a great job, and I'm sure you've engaged with her. And she's had a long day today, and we all have long days in the police. So we're a team, and I'm happy to sub for her as well.
Terrific.
So probably a couple of key things from me that probably overall, and again I know we're talking locally, crime has actually fallen in the ACT. I'm actually, part of my many hats, I'm also the operations chair of the ACT Policing Operations Committee. Probably we like to think it's because of COVID. We don't have any answers for it. But in saying that, I'm happy to actually punch through a couple of local issues, which will cover stolen motor vehicles, thefts, burglaries, COVID, and some youth issues as well. So, Peter, I'll take your advice from the forum. I don't want to be over talking because I like this to be interactive. How would you like me to do it?
Look, I think those topics go right to the heart of what most people are interested in learning about. So how about you just run through those, and if you want to pause for questions, we can take them. But I'd recommend you run through them, and at the end, we'll do a bit of a Q&A.
Yeah, sure. Probably a couple of things is stolen motor vehicles. Vehicle security really troubles us. There are some cars being stolen. Regrettably, this goes about crime prevention. We found 1 in 3 of those vehicles have been unattended, vehicles unlocked, and keys being accessible. So modern technology in this day and age makes it very difficult for your car to be stolen. So, you know, things like hot wiring and so forth, they're just impossible to do with vehicles probably made inside the last 15 years. However, if 1/3 of those cars are left unattended, unlocked, and cars and keys being left in them, whether they be fobs or otherwise, that's the key message out for us that we'd like to put out. So I'm not sure if that helps you, Peter, and the council.
I think that's a timely reminder. I mean, it is remarkable that these are a problem. I mean, are vehicle thefts in Gungahlin unusually high compared to the rest of Canberra?
Not really, but Gungahlin is probably our fastest growing area. So we estimated it's just slightly below the population of Belconnen, on or around 100,000. We estimated about 85K. You might have some better data, but we haven't had a census in a while. But in saying that, it's our fastest growing area, you know, with the new suburbs of Taylor, Throsby, et al. And Kenny coming through. Bonner's now quite established. And so more and more people are going out there, which is, you know, terrific. But at the same time, you know, vehicle security's got to be paramount. And we put some strong messaging out on our ACT Policing Facebook and our social media as well.
Yep. And so you mentioned the inevitable burglaries, no doubt building site related?
Yeah, but just touching on the vehicle thefts, it's four locations just to educate everybody, and I know everyone's got a network. It's underground car parks, and also we've had a lot of valuables in sight when the vehicles are left unlocked. So it's almost like a Venus flytrap for people. They'll see something valuable, a mobile phone or so forth, they'll take their opportunity, and 1/3 of those cars are unlocked. It's answering your question about burglaries. Burglaries are steady, but still manageable in Gungahlin. Our key issues at the moment are home security, sliding doors being left open, and other targets including commercial premises, garages and construction sites. So on Monday night, Gungahlin police found a well-known a recidivist offender who I even locked him up in my younger days, and I've been a cop for a long time. He's an adult male, and he was arrested stealing a whole stack of commercial equipment in Mitchell in the back of the ute.
No, must be soul destroying as a cop. I'd be having to grab the same people multiple times, but
well, clearly my interaction with him in a couple of previous decades had achieved nothing.
Yeah, well, it's good that you're still managing to get him on the rebound, as it were. So yeah, that's great.
Yeah, but commercial burglaries are a real problem, and the issue, as you know yourself, Mitchell literally interfaces on almost now two sides of urban aspects of Gungahlin, and equally as well, we're putting some data in. We're unsure because, as you know, the light rail has been one of the best things that ever happened in Gungahlin, but also some of the worst for us because we don't know if it's been used as a way of going in and out into Mitchell or the suburbs.
Yep. No, it's
with Rachel's been frustrated, and I get the social justice aspect as well. The customer service officers of the light rail, if you don't have a ticket, don't have money, won't challenge you because of the safety aspect. We understand that. But what we're finding, and I'm sure people in Gungahlin are finding, that those youths are quite antisocial around the platforms because of it.
Yep.
We're careful how to influence that because it's a social justice issue and a Transport Canberra issue. We really want those youths to be engaged and turn their lives around as well, rather than hanging around and, it's thin edge of the wedge if they start to go into petty crime.
So when you say youths, so these are, people of school age that should be at school?
Yeah.
Or, yeah.
Well, we've had school holidays. It's probably what we call the mid-teenagers. They're the ones who probably got a bit of thrust about them, a bit of organisation, some level of independence from their parents that they're trusting them, and then they clearly are abusing it and so forth. In saying that, we haven't had a lot of spike in burglaries or stolen motor vehicles during the school holidays, but we have found a lot of youths darting in and around from Gungahlin through to North Canberra, mainly from Gungahlin, Dixon into the city.
Right. And again, I guess from a Gungahlin point of view, is it unusually high? I mean, obviously we're a younger demographic and so on.
Yeah.
So, you just generally see more of it here than you would in other parts of Canberra? Or?
Probably more in Gungahlin because you're right on the money about the youth. So our key issue as well, like you said about infrastructure, Gungahlin's got a great forward plan. There's a community centre, but it's not necessarily engaged by youth. So perfect world, we'd love to have a youth centre, we'd like to have a police and citizens youth club, but that's not necessarily run by the police, even though it's got police. We've got tentacles to it. And obviously youth facilities in and around Gungahlin, which would be ideal. In saying that, I think Gungahlin youth has got some of the highest participation rate in sport, but there's also what we found a lot of refugee kids trying to get themselves established, new migrant kids as well, and we really want to engage with them as well. We found last year there was a unfortunate homicide in Palmerston, and the key issues what we found when we were engaging with the South Sudanese community is that they had limited resources available for them in terms of refugee assistance, resource centres, and most of them were in Belconnen City. So I can understand their point of view that they felt disenfranchised.
Yep. Yeah. No. I mean, it's one of the challenges we've been working with is not only worrying about all the things that new developments worry about, like roads and infrastructure. You also need that social infrastructure and services, and so that's certainly been a focus for us and hopefully for voters as they take on the responsibility of electing a new government. A couple of, I guess, there's people looking for solutions, and I think, if what you're suggesting, providing better services for those who are struggling is definitely part of it. But one of the comments here is there closed circuit TV monitoring these areas? Are those sort of things a useful deterrent?
Yeah, they are. We've obviously got CCTV in the town centre, but also the Canberra Light Rail has also got CCTV throughout their platforms and on the trains. They've got like a controlled centre in Mitchell that I've gone out there at times. That runs 24 hours. That's been very useful for us as well, and they've been a great assistance as well. But what we found, like Rachel has raised it, is in some ways it's good that we've got a great social justice policy about don't have any money, your main thing, the train's about safety. But equally as well, I think some younger people are abusing that privilege, and it's well known. And so what we're finding is that the train is a very pleasant ride past Dixon, but inside Dixon and City, even though I know you're concentrating on Gungahlin, it becomes an unpleasant ride for various reasons of those youths who probably aren't exactly well behaved or otherwise.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. I've got a question, Peter. Can I go ahead? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
This is Henley.
I've got a question, Mick.
Hey, Mick. Just a quick one. I've got a couple of questions for you. One, in terms of police resource in Gungahlin, you guys seems to be a bit struggling or maybe down in the resource in terms of doing a lot of the rounds, like, usually you do a lot of rounds in the past in the Gungahlin region, but it seems to be a bit reduced. I'm not sure whether it's because of your resourcing in Gungahlin is less.
Yeah, sorry, what was your name?
Henley.
Hi, Henley. My name's Mick. Look, the police numbers are a government decision. So I can't make comments on that. But what I can say is that ACT policing runs in a team effort. So we all go mobile. There's not just Gungahlin police. We've actually, there's detectives driving around at any particular time. There's police officers from traffic police as well, the firearms section and so forth. So it's not just your Gungahlin police that are out there as well. And I'll give you a classic example. Even though I'm a superintendent, I still go mobile and I wear a firearm. So yesterday I was driving around and I was happy to back up, and there was a house fire in Harrison, and there was concerns about the well-being of one of the occupants. There was the patrol sergeant from Gungahlin attended and some detectives, and he was virtually saying no more resources. So in terms of first response, that was a good day. But I'm also pragmatic that we might not always have a great day as well with resources at any particular time. So again, I can't make comment, as you know, police resources and how they're allocated is a decision.
Okay.
And I hope I've diplomatically as well to understand.
Right. I understand that you can't comment, but I would assume probably more police resource would help you guys definitely in Gungahlin. But I got another question regarding how to make a complaint. I've seen in the Gungahlin Drive a lot of police cars, usually without any emergency or anything. They go really fast. They go more than 90 for sure because they overtake all the cars and they go. There's no, it doesn't seem to be any lights on or anything. So I would assume there's no emergency on it. In that occasion, how can a public complain, or who should they contact?
Henley, you can speak to Rachel. She's the inspector, and she can conciliate the matter as well. I think Peter might have. Or you can go through our website and so forth, make complaints about the police officers, which you have a right to as well. Or after I've got my details, and you can speak to me about it.
Okay. All right. Cool. Thank you.
Thanks, Henley. Darren, I see that you've got a question. Would you like to unmute and ask your question?
Yeah, so we've got a question online about cars on the sides of the roads from Desmond. Why cannot dumped cars be moved from the sides of the roads quickly? They're a traffic hazard, apparently.
Look, if they're a traffic hazard, we get to them, but we work closely with ACT government for abandoned vehicles. If they're stolen or so forth, we will recover them. But a lot of people just abandon cars. I'm not sure if it's economic times or whatever, if they're unregistered or they break down. And we've got a close relationship with Access Canberra for abandoned motor vehicles.
So in that situation, if a resident's concerned about a dump car, they should report it to Access Canberra, not the police.
Yeah, Access Canberra. Now, Access Canberra has also got a database if the car is stolen, or obviously we might want it for, say, it's suspicious for an armed robbery or so forth. So it's police action and so forth. We will attend to it. But a lot of people actually abandon their cars. It's a Canberra thing. I don't know why. It's a Canberra thing, and there's certain protocols with abandoned motor vehicles. So again, I don't want to take away Access Canberra's thunder, but they've got to do all due diligence to contact the owners or otherwise as well. You know, if it's in a parking zone, obviously then it's up to some regulation, but a lot of them are parked in a public car park, in a park or a local school or otherwise as well, and they just leave them there as well. But if you think it's suspicious, please contact the police, and then we'll use the machinery of government to make that happen for you. And I can imagine it's frustrating, and it's an eyesore.
Yeah. Thanks, Mick. I think one of the things sometimes people get caught up in Canberra is exactly who's responsible for what. You know, we've certainly had residents complaining about cars parking on median strips and or cars parked essentially because no one's got a residence has more cars than garage. They may have a car parked in the street for weeks and weeks and never moves. And it's one of those, who do you call? Whether it's you guys, which seems not like a great use of your time, but then it's like, well, it's not clear who we should call.
Look, on first protocol, there's no problem with us calling you because chances are it's a stolen car. We need to recover it, or we want it for it's a suspicious car with a person of interest and a vehicle, what we call a VOI, a vehicle of interest. So absolutely, we're the right people. But then, if it's not the case at all, we'll refer you to ACT government. We won't play red tape with you. We work hand in hand with them.
Yep. Okay. Cool. And so that's the parking infringement folk inside TCCS that would be responsible for that?
Not necessarily parking infringement, but it's just Access Canberra because they also do. A lot of times just people abandon their vehicles or they're unregistered or otherwise. Look, in saying that, there are sometimes police who pull people over to do excessive speeds and so forth, and we'll say, excuse me, Mr. Smith, I'm sorry, you need to leave your vehicle here because you've done a speed over 40 kilometres and you have immediately no right to drive. And I think as members of the public, you wouldn't want people like that to be on the roads, or they're unregistered and have no third party and the vehicle is a danger to themselves and others, and plus it's not insured. So they'll leave them there and they've got to make arrangements for tows. I think we give them a period of time, but look, this goes back to police resources. We're not running around then seeing if they've moved that car as well.
Yep. Okay. All right. Now I know you had at least one other topic you flagged on COVID, but we've just had one other question come in pointing out they've observed a lot of burnouts and racing around the Casey Market town and along the Barton Highway near Hall. Is that the sort of thing that residents should be ringing through to the Gungahlin station?
They can ring us through Gungahlin station or just ring up the normal 131 444 number. Thanks for bringing that to my attention. If there's lots of burnouts and that, I'm chairing the operations committee tomorrow, and I can raise that.
Oh, great. Well, certainly that Facebook poster will then be great. Very fast response. All right, Mick. Back to you.
If I can educate the whole forum, what we're finding is that Canberra's got a very well organised, whether you call it a legal car racing group or whatever. They're probably motivated by all those Fast and Furious movies. we believe it's the same group that was doing massive burnouts and has laid more rubber than you can poke a stick at in Tipinbilla. It's frustrating for us as well because they're usually young people who don't know how to control a vehicle. There's a lot of smoke pollution at the same time, and we're always concerned that they could lose control and hurt somebody, let alone themselves.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, it's got kind of good news to know that we're not special, but yeah, obviously, you know, I really like to reinforce your commentary. The only way you guys are going to know about it to be able to do something is if people ring it through. So, yeah.
Yeah, ring it through, and please, I would encourage people to use their iPhones and just take a picture of the vehicle or a little video, and also the rego number as well. That would be ideal. That is great evidence. Our road policing people go, even though they might not grab them there and there, they'll get a rego. They're all great police. They're very, very resourceful. They'll go knock on their doors and say, okay, we have a video of you doing this at this time, at this place, at this particular location.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, the other thing is just to, you know, take notice of the times when these are occurring. So it's good.
And we've got great legislation. We can seize cars. We've had over the last couple of years. So the ACT government has given us strong powers. So we can seize those vehicles as well.
Right. Okay. Well, it sounds like you're well armed. It needs the knowledge. All right. Well, the questions are slowed. Were you going to say a few things about COVID?
We found, regrettably, post-school holidays, and we found a lot of assaults in and around COVID at schools. So it's troubling us as well.
When you say assault, physical, you know, people beating each other up.
Yeah.
Huh. And that's something that's unique to Gungahlin or just generally around Canberra?
Probably just in and around Gungahlin. So, you know, it's an increase in reported assaults following students' return to school post-COVID. So we've had younger people who've stayed at home during the COVID period. Now, whether it's their frustration or so forth, they've been doing online schooling and now they're back, we found an increase in students assaulting each other. So I'm not sure if it's cabin fever or otherwise. It does concern us.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I guess something else for people to watch out for. The Facebook poster has come back with a comment saying the people doing the burnouts and racing have spotters on the hills to watch out for marked cars. And so their suggestion is that maybe you need some unmarked cars to trying to catch those street races. So.
No, thanks. And some of the success, if you can pass it through, when we did Tipinbilla, we don't mind telling them we've got also drone technology.
Good. Eyes in the sky. Good to hear.
Well, like I said, this is a public safety issue for us. We're not wowsers. This is a public safety issue. For even us being police drivers, we go through meticulous training. Just because you can afford a fast car with high-speed revs and a V8 or whatever the case might be, you're still going to be a safety issue to members of the public on the roads and could come off the road as well.
Okay. Yep. I don't think you'll have any residents in Gungahlin arguing that point. Look, is there anything else you needed to or wanted to add, Mick? We seem to slow down on our Q&A. I can't see anyone with a hand up.
We just want to thank a lot of people. I'm not going to name them as well. We've had a lot of really good intelligence from people using the Crime Stoppers as well. Whilst we just say classically ring us up, Crime Stoppers is invaluable. Every person in the community knows something. Every piece of Crime Stoppers piece of intelligence assists us greatly. It's anonymous, and we can put things together. We can piece things together. We can use that information on search warrants or human source strategies or otherwise. All those things have really helped us a great deal. And so I'll encourage people to contact the Crime Stoppers number as well, which is freely available. It's 1300 888 000, and it's been invaluable for us as well.
Okay. Well, we'll might be with a quick little Facebook post summarising some of the key comments from tonight. Mick, look, that's been really super useful. I know the Gungahlin policing updates are always a pretty popular item in our agendas, and people are interested in and appreciative of you and your team making yourselves available, and really grateful for the work your team does.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if you can put it on your Facebook page. Probably a lot of people don't know. The Gungahlin Police have been there 22 years. It first opened in 1998 as a business hours police station, but Gungahlin Police Station has been open 24 hours since 2008. Now, this is my privilege enough to be the second time in my police career as North District Superintendent, and it's really come of age. And the community feel every time I go there, I was working afternoon shift on Friday, is just palpable. And all the young men and women who work in Gungahlin Police are so proud to be your police.
Well, we do appreciate it, and I've got some time booked in to catch up with Rachel next week, so we'll definitely pass that on. So thank you very much for making yourself available tonight and then covering for Rachel on her behalf.
No, thank you. And I know you've got a full agenda to go, so thank you very much.
No worries. Thanks, Mick.
Bye.
All right. Well, like I say, I think it's terrific that we have the police willing to come out and listen to that, and we'll write up a few of these notes, just circulate them so they're sort of captured for prosperity. From that, and as I mentioned before, we're down to just one more speaker tonight. ACT No Waste are unable to join us, but will be coming at our future meeting, either in November or December. But we do have Dan Stewart and the team who are going to talk about a new development in the Gungahlin Town Centre. So Dan, are you ready to go? You're muted. Hey.
Yes, we are, Peter. Thank you very much. Can you hear me all right?
Yep, audio is excellent.
Wonderful. Look, my name's Dan Stewart for Dish Development, and I'm joined by Michael Geezer from Merco & Associates, who's the project architect. We're in the midst of our pre-DA community engagement, and appreciate the invitation from the GCC to come along and provide a brief presentation on our proposal for the site, and to hear any questions or receive any feedback that you might have this evening. We've also set up a web page, and there's a live email address if people would like to contact us that way going forward. Dish bought the site, Block 7 of Section 249 Gungahlin, which is on the corner of Kate Crace Street and Camilleri Way back in early May. The SLA released the site with an upper limit for 160 dwellings plus commercial, and a requirement to deliver 28 affordable dwellings as part of that. Our proposal is for 99 dwellings on the site. 70 of those dwellings are 2 and 3 bedroom townhouses, and the remaining 29 are a mix of 2 bedroom apartments and a single 1 bedroom apartment. The maximum building height that we're proposing across the site is 3 stories, and all parking is provided in a single basement underneath the site. Entry to the site is off Camilleri Way. It's a one-way driveway down into the basement, but that also provides access for waste vehicles, a single direction lane which weaves around and then exits back onto Cape Crace. As far as introduction is concerned, that's probably it from me for now. I'd like to hand you over to Michael, who will run you through the scheme that Turco has prepared for the site, and then of course at the end of that we're more than happy to take any questions and hear your thoughts. Michael.
Wonderful, thanks Dan. Evening everyone. I suppose just when we start looking at the site itself, where when Dan came to us with the brief, one thing that really did strike us is this is probably the perfect spot for townhouses. We're sort of away from the height and density of the main part of the town centre, and probably an opportunity to provide a good step down to the nature reserve down to the south. What is also a bit of an asset to the site is the sort of future pedestrian link I've just marked on the drawing there, where we think there's a great opportunity to integrate our development with that planned pedestrian link, which will obviously take the residents from our site up to both the town centre and to the light rail stops. when we look at the site itself, it's got quite a predominant east-west orientation to it. So when we started to obviously delve into how we would lay the site out, we've tried to orient the majority of the units to face north, and then tried to provide the access to those either via street frontage or via an internal sort of landscape link which we've created through here. This link is not only just a pedestrian link, it's probably also an important space for the residents to use, break out to, and form maybe a spot to also be an extension of their own private open spaces, which are offered for each of the townhouses. Like Dan said, we've moved all of the parking into a basement level. What that has meant for us is we can have a more pedestrian-focused ground plane. It's a safer space to be without car movements happening all throughout the day. What the basement level has also allowed us to do is to provide internal access from and a lock-up garage for each townhouse, which is just a different level of amenity for some of the other townhouse product you might see. The views I'm sort of putting up now are just around the site generically, and looking at what the external architecture is. We're trying to look for a mixture of townhouse styles. We're not really trying to create a long, expansive wall of the same style. We really want to create a little sense of community and also identity within that. I'm sure we've all been through developments where there's a lot of repetition, and we really want to try and avoid that. There is a 3-storey apartment building located to the southwest of the site to house 29 of the dwellings. It's been designed at 3 stories to complement a lot of the other architecture on the site, where we have a mixture of 2 and 3-story townhouses. The 3-story townhouses have sort of been sited to pick up potential views over to the nature reserve to the south, and they've also been sited not to overshadow other development or other residents internally. And we've paid great attention to sort of achieve that. In terms of materiality, we're looking for robust materials that don't really require a lot of maintenance long term. We don't want this development to degrade over time. Pallets been chosen with a lot of natural colours and materials where possible. Obviously keeping that ethos of having it maintenance free moving into the future. To be honest, there's probably not a lot more to be said about it. Like I said at the start, I think it's a great opportunity to provide townhouses within the town centre itself, and you know that's part of the brief we really liked from when Dan brought it to us. We're sort of happy to be delivering it with him.
The key for us at this stage is to hear what you guys and what the broader community thinks about the designs to date as we prepare to finalise the DA over the next few weeks and lodge it to go on public notification, of course, where it will go through the statutory planning processes. We're really proud of the work that Turco's done to date, and as Mick said, we believe what we're delivering here, or what we're hoping to deliver here, will be a unique product in the context of the broader town centre, where we're seeing quite a few apartments across a good number of sites, and the relationship between this site and that grassland reserve to the south, as Michael highlighted, is one of the key aspects that we're really keen to emphasise, both for the future residents but also in the design. So we'd welcome any comments or questions you might have now, but equally through the last few days of pre-DA consultation, and then of course through the formal notification period.
Yep. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Dan. That's most interesting. I see. So we'll remind everyone, if you're on Facebook Live, whack a question in and we'll pick that up. But one of the Zoom participants has a question. Cam, are you ready to speak?
Oh, yes, I am. Thanks very much, gentlemen, for your presentation. It looks quite a smart development, and your underground parking, I think, is a nice, unique feature that helps keep the streets clear from parked cars. So commend you on that. I just have a question, I suppose, is that over the last few years, the question of high-rise development in Gungahlin has been a little bit of an issue, and through some of the forums, the discussion has gone towards where high rise imposes on surrounding dwellings as being an unfavourable factor, that where your site is, it's towards the grasslands, and so more of a multi-storey development probably would be acceptable. Now, I'm only guessing at the moment because I think the building code may allow up to maybe 5, maybe 7 stories around there. I'm not sure. But I'm just, apart from the aesthetics that you're trying to achieve, when you put your design together, was there some specific reason you decided not to build higher?
Look, to be perfectly honest, Cameron, it was an observation that there's such a lot of apartment product on offer and proposed over the next couple of years going forward in the Gungahlin town centre. So we saw this site as an opportunity to provide a different product in terms of townhouses. The feedback that we've had is that people are calling it the missing middle. There's a desire for this sort of dwelling typology in and around or close to the town centre that we're not seeing on some of those other sites. And I'm certainly not criticising the other developers. They're building what they believe there is a demand for, and we're certainly seeing those products moving. But we see this as being quite distinctive and a point of difference to the other developments that are taking place.
Yep.
Okay.
Just to clarify, for both you, Cam, and for you as well, Dan, and your team, you're designing under draft variation 364, right? Because that's got interim effect.
Yep.
So I've just pulled up draft variation 364, and at the southern edge, abutting Camilleria Way, the restriction is 3 stories, but then there's a step up to 6. Does that go through your block?
I think there's a portion of our block that we could pick up that taller element, but we've opted to keep everything at 3 stories or 2.
Yeah. Okay, great. I think generally, certainly the community have generally said, under sort of 8 to 10 stories is in the middle is fine, and stepping down, and draft variation 364 captures that pretty well. Where I think people are getting frustrated is when 20 stories occur where no one expected that. So I think as a broad statement, I think you're in good shape from overall scale. So you've got essentially an east-west path through the development, feeding into what is being called the linear park that runs through East Gungahlin. Is that accurate?
That's correct. So that'll be publicly accessible. It will cut through from Cape Crace across to the government's future parkland, which I believe they'll be going public with a design process either later this year or early next year. So it's in all likelihood we're expecting this development to run ahead of that future work by government, but we've placed the entry for the apartment building out onto that area to boost the amenity for the future residents in the apartment building also.
Yep.
And to probably provide some passive surveillance to that space as well, and increase the security of it, which I think also the east-west link through our block will also help with. It won't be such a dead end. It will be visible from other places.
Yep. I agree. You mentioned the site is zoned to support commercial, but you're not proposing that there be any commercial development?
No, we're not.
Right. Okay. So in the chat, I see in the design, what is the number taken into consideration for 2-vehicle households and visitor parking? The point being, there's no shortage of developments that provide what seems like the right amount of parking, but it turns out not to be, because most of the units end up with 2 cars per unit, or there are visitors, and you end up with cars spilling out onto the street.
So in the basement itself, we're meeting the provisions of the Parking and Vehicular Access Code, which is, we've already got one bedroom apartment, but 1 space for that, 1.5 for a 2-bedroom and 2 spaces for a 3, and providing the 1 per 4 visitor spots on site at this stage. We may look to use a couple of the on-street parking directly adjacent to the verge, but that decision is yet to be made depending on the amount of services that have to go into the basement. At this stage, we're looking to cater for it all on site. So each townhouse has a single lock-up garage, but there's also plenty of provision of co-located parking spaces to make up the rest of the provision rates.
Right. So just to hear that right, it's each garage is separately lockable. Is that
for the townhouses, for the 70 townhouses, that's right.
And then they'll have a stairway directly up into the townhouse from the basement. Okay.
But not the apartments?
No, the apartments have lift and stair access, a central core.
Okay. Okay. And no provision for separate storage cages or?
There is provision for storage cages for the apartment residents who don't have an associated garage. The garages have been the single garages have been oversized to allow for storage within each associated garage space.
Okay, good. Okay, right. Are there any other? Hang on, sorry, just trying to think and check the participants list. Yes, Darren, I see your hand is up.
Yeah, I have a question. I guess because this is not a high-rise development and it's more sort of lower to the ground. One of the questions I have, if you're interested, is in a lot of these types of apartment complexes, I often wonder about communal areas. So is there any outside communal areas that people who live in this development would be able to utilize, like, for example, barbecue area or, dare say, children's playground?
We're still looking at options of things like that with the landscape architect at the moment. There is provision for communal open space on site. I suppose the plan you're looking at is quite deceptive in its scale. It's, you know, quite a large site. So even when we start looking at some of the sort of spaces that we're providing in between here, we're talking about spaces that are over 8 metres wide at the thinnest point. So there still is a lot of potential to do that. We're working on places for both community to engage with each other and meet, but also people to relax outside of their own space as well. As we know, not everyone wants to do exactly the same thing. So we are looking at that finer grain detail at the moment and probably look to address that throughout the DA process.
Darren, the other thing that we're keen to do is to work with government early to see what their intentions and plans may be for that green spine that's running along the eastern edge of the site, north to south. It is a really generous space in terms of its scale, and you know, if the government was of a mind to create, you know, communal barbecues and playgrounds within that, of course, that's something that we think would you know, wholeheartedly boost the amenity for this site, but also the other future development sites that are on the land release program in the neighbourhood.
Thanks for that. Gungahllin's getting a bit of a reputation from some of the people that live here for, you know, not enough green space and that they're being a bit of a concrete jungle. So when I see developments like this, I'm just trying to sort of put that forward to sort of get ahead of that curve and sort of say, well, can we have some, you know, green space in communal sort of areas might be a consideration.
I think it's a really good point and a fair point. So we'll certainly work on that with our landscape architect.
Thanks, sir.
You know, certainly we've been suggesting to the ACD government that as a result of the changes they've included in draft variation 364, the residential density of the town centre is going to go up a lot, and therefore, consistent with what Darren was saying, there needs to be better provision for open space. And the only response has been, well, we've got this linear park coming, and there may be some opportunity to work with developers to improve how the linear park integrates with their development to make it feel bigger. So hopefully that consultation around the linear park, which I understand, like you, is due to start sometime in November this year, you know, may be able to be woven into your plans.
We completely agree, Peter, and we think the park isn't just a great asset for our site. It's for the entire end of Gungahlin, and as you rightly point out, it provides that north-south access all the way down to Camilleri with the great vistas out over the grasslands, which is, you know, one of the key selling points for us on this location.
Yep, cool.
And noting it does also flay out or become larger towards the south as well.
Exactly
so,
right.
I mean, putting a number against it, I'd say it's probably over 40 metres wide when it hits Camilleri Way. So there would be a really good opportunity as a pause point before the nature reserve to actually really invest some money from the government in that space, if you know what I mean. So it actually comes down, I believe, and then flays at the very bottom. Sorry for the sketching of the small detail, but yeah, there is quite a large width on that space here at the bottom.
Yeah, now that I'll just having a quick look at that and yeah, online. So yeah, look, we'll just have to see. I mean, the changes in that area with so much of the land now being mixed use, there just will be a lot more people there. So I think we've run out of questions online and on Facebook. If there are any, if I've overlooked anyone, if they're able to.
Yeah, can I?
Oh, Kevin, yep, jump in.
Are you going to allow people or allow for the possibility of people putting solar on their roofs?
Look, I don't see why that wouldn't be an option. It's not something we've explored at this stage, but it should certainly be an opportunity.
All the dwellings are well oriented to accommodate it. So yeah, look, I think definitely it's probably something for us to consider moving forward, and probably more Dan to talk about with the agent and seeing,
Yeah, absolutely.
Another question, if this was a multi-storey building, you'd be having a body corporate. Does a development like this have a community organisation plan for it for management of the open spaces and so forth around the place? Is there?
Yeah, in short, yes. So because there's common spaces, that as part of that unit titling process, we would establish a body corporate.
And is there any thought of having inside space that's community space? Of having maybe one of the apartments or one area there, an area where people could actually get together inside in some for meetings, for example, or for just playing table tennis or something of that nature.
There's no intention of setting aside any of the dwellings for that purpose. I guess what we would hope is that with a relatively low number of dwellings as part of this larger precinct, that those relationships would form naturally, and when we'd see that socialising happen across the development regardless. So, but no, we're not planning for a communal indoor space within the precinct at this point, and I would say it's unlikely.
Right.
Okay.
All right. Well, I think I don't see any more questions. Just a reminder that the pre-DA, pre-development application portion of this consultation ends this weekend, I think, Dan. Is that accurate?
That's right, Peter.
So please make sure that you follow up on we have a Facebook post and an article on our website pointing to how you can respond via email, and has a link back to the Turco site where all of the diagrams you're seeing have been provided. So if there's nothing else you needed, Dan, we might close that item and encourage people to respond.
Wonderful, and thanks again, Peter. We appreciate the opportunity to present and look forward to any further feedback.
Right. Thanks very much, Dan.
All right. Good night.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night. Well, thank you.
Still there? They're still there? Dan?
Whoop. Yeah, Dan's still here. We've got another question.
There were some Facebook questions.
Oh, whoa. Okay. I just checked and the answer was no. Hang on, Dan. We might have a question. Stand by.
Oh, yeah.
No, we're still here.
Cool.
We're still here.
No?
Hang on.
And there were some comments around
where is the visitor parking?
Where we spoke to visitor parking, and there was kind of a comment around, I'm concerned that the land is being underdeveloped. It could have 6 stories on it and therefore undeveloped. But
well, can we get a reaction to that then?
Yep.
As I said before, we've designed the precinct based on where we see a strong demand within the market, and we're comfortable with where we've landed. Certainly the upper limit was 160, but at 99 we think it's a good outcome and a good missing middle for Gungahlin.
Yep. Cool. All right. Thank you.
Thanks again. We appreciate it.
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone.
No worries.
Bye-bye.
I think that brings us to the end of the structured agenda for tonight. As usual, the floor is open for anyone who's got any questions or queries, either that we might be able to address now or that we may be able to take on notice, if there are indeed any. If not, a reminder again that it's ACT election week, and get out there and vote either before Friday the 17th or on Saturday the 17th, or on Saturday 17th. And we may not be all able to have democracy sausages because of the COVID pandemic, but you still get the chance to have your say in the most powerful way possible. So I'd encourage all those to everyone to get engaged in the process, look at the policies and commitments being made by the MLA candidates, and think carefully about how they place their votes. So, Cam, you have a commentary or question?
Oh, yes. It was really just a wrap up. It was a notification that came out from Pedal Power today. Apparently, the coroner has handed down a report from the Teresa, I'll pronounce it, Folk death, cycling accident. And one of the main comments that came out about there was that, notwithstanding the good work and funding put into new cycling infrastructure, was back to Pedal Power's long and running advocacy to the government to maintain the current off-road cycle path infrastructure. It was seen as a significant contributing factor. So if people are interested, I'm sure through the government website they're able to read the full coroner's report, but I just thought it was worth pointing that out if people are interested in the cycling infrastructure around Canberra, and potentially where some of this government committed funding should go.
Yep, thanks, Cam. Yeah, I did actually see that, and there actually has been a lot of activity around cycling infrastructure during the election, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, Pedal Power did well to engage with all the candidates and parties.
Yeah. No, they do a great job. All right, we've earned ourselves an early mark by losing a speaker. So with all of that, thank you again, everybody, for joining this evening or watching online. We'll be back again next month. I'm pretty certain that we'll be squeezing our AGM at the beginning of next month, and we'll be by then welcoming in a government of a slightly different construction, and we'll just have to wait to see what flavour that might be. So thank you all again for joining us, and we'll see you next month.
Thanks, Peter.
Yep, thank you.
Night all.